This was the most ridiculous collapse in the career of Mark Selby. Selby first kicked the red away, then forced the cue ball into a tiny gap behind the black, almost risking losing control completely. From the result alone, the safety looked absolutely perfect. But he never imagined this perfect safety would become the spark for his opponent's comeback. Seeing the cue ball could still pass through that narrow lane, Ricky Walden calmly rolled the white back in and escaped the danger.
Now this red may pot.
There was actually a small attacking angle on the red to the left, but for Selby, a player famous for patience and control, this was not a shot he would gamble on easily, so he chose a more conservative safety strategy. Facing Selby's tricky safety, Walden suddenly changed his strategy. After kicking the cue ball away, it slid along the cushion, bouncing twice off the rails, before heading toward the brown ball. The next second, the cue ball stopped perfectly behind the brown. An incredibly nasty, almost perfect snooker was born. Even Walden looked stunned. On the other side, Selby's face twisted instantly. Inside his head he was probably screaming, "This is a nightmare snooker." The difficulty was obvious. The cue ball and the brown were almost touching. There was no downward angle at all. The only escape route was to power the ball upward and rely on multiple cushions to escape. But that required extreme power control and a precise line. Each cushion would drain more speed, and the route required at least 3, maybe 4 cushions. Selby stepped up for the first attempt. The power was clearly not enough. The cue ball slowed down before reaching the target line. Walden collected 4 points and immediately asked the referee to replace the balls. As the referee patiently reset the table, Selby finally couldn't help himself. Half joking, he told the referees, "This ball is impossible. Even Ronnie O'Sullivan couldn't escape it." But the rules don't change because of emotions. The referee calmly continued the replacement. The crowd burst into laughter, and the arena suddenly became lighthearted. Selby could only spread his arms helplessly. Even the master of safety was clearly in serious trouble. Second attempt. Still failed. Now Selby stood at the table, with a clearly frustrated expression. Meanwhile Walden sat back in his chair, relaxed and smiling. After all, trapping the greatest safety player in the world like this is something to be proud of. After carefully studying the table, Selby began his third attempt. The cue ball brushed past a red again, closer than before, but still not enough. After seeing Selby fail repeatedly, the referee finally announced, "This is a foul and a miss, but the snooker is impossible." According to the rules, once a snooker is declared impossible, the player no longer needs to attempt the escape. Many fans wonder why it stopped after only 3 attempts. In fact, the referee doesn't count attempts mechanically. The decision is based on shot quality. Selby's first try was just a test, but the second and third shots were already full efforts, and the cue ball was still far from the target. So continuing made little sense. Just as everyone was still discussing this bizarre safety battle, the story flipped again. Walden stepped up and chose a very risky attack. A long red at a huge angle. The ball rolled slowly toward the pocket, rattled on the jaw, and finally dropped. The arena exploded. Meanwhile, in the player's chair, Selby looked full of regret. Because if he had been just a little braver and taken that red earlier, he might never have lived through this nightmare.